Captain Zexthara stood on the bridge of the Iron Tide and looked at the star map with pride. His thick gray skin showed the scars of 100 battles, and his 4 arms moved with the confidence of someone who had never met his match. The Cromneri were the strongest species in the galaxy, and everyone knew it. Their homeworld, Cromner Prime, was a nightmare of crushing gravity, poison storms, and monsters that could tear apart steel with their bare claws. If you could survive on Cromner Prime, you could survive anywhere. Dr. Velenosh walked up to the captain with excitement in his large black eyes. The scientist's blue skin had the same tough texture as all Cromneri, built to handle the worst conditions the universe could throw at them. He carried a datapad in his smaller secondary arms while his main arms gestured wildly. "Captain, you need to see this," Velenosh said in the clicking language of their people. "We have found something impossible." Zexthara turned his massive head toward the doctor. At 8 feet tall and built like a living tank, the captain made even other Cromneri look small. His yellow eyes focused on the datapad as Velenosh showed him the readings. "These signals are coming from the 3rd planet in this outer rim system," Velenosh explained. "The planet is classified as extreme death world. Look at these conditions." The captain studied the data with growing amazement. The planet had crushing gravity almost as strong as Cromner Prime. Violent storms covered huge areas of the surface. Deadly radiation poured down from the local star. Massive oceans filled with unknown dangers covered most of the world. The temperature swings would kill most Federation species in minutes. "This makes no sense," Zexthara rumbled. "Nothing intelligent could develop on such a world. Maybe the signals are natural phenomena." "That is what I thought too," Velenosh replied. "But listen to this." He activated the audio recordings they had picked up from the planet. Strange sounds filled the bridge, rhythmic noises that clearly showed pattern and purpose. Communication. Officer Theckemer looked up from his station with his antenna twitching in confusion. "Sir, these are definitely artificial signals," Theckemer reported. "Very primitive technology, but organized. Multiple transmission points across the planet's surface. They seem to be using electromagnetic radiation for long-distance communication." Zexthara felt a chill run through his armored spine. The idea that anything could not just survive but thrive on such a death world seemed impossible. His own people were the toughest in known space, forged by the harsh conditions of Cromner Prime over millions of years. Yet even the Cromneri would struggle on a world this hostile. "How many transmission sources?" the captain asked. "Hundreds, sir, maybe thousands. They cover the entire planet." The bridge fell silent except for the humming of the ship's systems. Every crew member was thinking the same thing. A planet-wide civilization on an extreme death world was beyond anything they had encountered before. The Federation had explored thousands of systems and cataloged millions of species. Nothing like this had ever been found. "Captain," Dr. Velenosh said quietly, "if there really is intelligent life on this world, they might be more dangerous than anything we have ever met." Zexthara considered this carefully. The Cromneri had become the Federation's elite warriors and explorers because they could handle conditions that would kill other species. They were the ones called in when missions were too dangerous for anyone else. The idea that something could be tougher than them was almost unthinkable. "Set course for the planet," he ordered. "But keep our distance. We need to learn more before we make contact." The Iron Tide moved through space toward the mysterious world. As they got closer, the readings became even more disturbing. The planet showed signs of massive industrial activity. Energy signatures suggested advanced technology, despite the primitive radio signals. Most shocking of all, biological scans indicated the presence of billions of life forms on the surface. "This cannot be right," Velenosh muttered as he studied his instruments. "The population density readings are higher than most Federation core worlds. How can so many beings survive on such a hostile planet?" Lieutenant Kekstar, the ship's tactical officer, brought more troubling news. "Captain, I am detecting artificial structures in orbit around the planet. Small ones, but definitely manufactured objects. They have achieved spaceflight?" Zexthara asked in disbelief. It appears so, sir. Primitive by our standards, but functional. The captain's mind raced as he tried to process this information. A species that had not only survived an extreme death world, but had thrived enough to build a global civilization and reach space was unprecedented. The Federation scientists would need to completely revise their theories about the limits of biological adaptation. Sir, Communication Officer Thekmore reported, I am picking up more signals. These appear to be directed at us. What do you mean directed at us? The transmissions are coming from the same coordinates where our long-range sensors detected us. Sir, I think they know we are here. A cold silence fell over the bridge. The idea that these unknown beings had detected their approach was deeply unsettling. The Iron Tide used the most advanced stealth technology in Federation space. Their sensors should be undetectable by any primitive civilization. How is that possible? Dr. Velanosh asked. I do not know, sir. But the signals are definitely aimed in our direction and following our movement. Captain Zexthara made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Open a communication channel. Use standard Federation first contact protocols. Let us see what these beings have to say. The message was simple and direct, broadcast on multiple frequencies and mathematical concepts that any technological species should understand. They identified themselves as representatives of the Galactic Federation and expressed peaceful intentions for contact and cultural exchange. The response came faster than anyone expected. Within minutes, the planet replied with a coordinated transmission that used the same mathematical concepts but showed a sophisticated understanding of communication theory. The message was not just a response, but a carefully structured diplomatic contact protocol. Sir, Vekmore said with amazement in his voice, they are using encryption techniques I have never seen before, very advanced for such primitive technology. As the translation systems work to decode the alien language, Captain Zexthara stared at the hostile world on his main screen. Somewhere down there, on a planet that should have been a tomb, a civilization had not just survived but apparently mastered their deadly environment. The implications were staggering. The Federation had always assumed that harsh worlds produced tough species, but there were limits to biological adaptation. The Cromneri represented those limits, the ultimate survivors forged by the worst conditions imaginable. Yet the readings from this planet suggested something even more extreme. Translation complete, sir. Thekmore announced. The message that appeared on the screen would haunt Captain Zexthara for the rest of his life. It was polite, professional, and terrifyingly competent. These beings called themselves humans, and they welcomed peaceful contact with the Galactic Federation. They were aware of the Iron Tide's presence and had been tracking its approach for several days. They knew the Cromneri were coming before the Cromneri knew they existed. The human response had shaken Captain Zexthara more than he cared to admit. These beings from the Death World had not panicked or shown fear when contacted by an unknown alien species. Instead, they had responded with calm efficiency that suggested they had been prepared for this moment. The translation of their message revealed a level of organization that should have been impossible for any species. Struggling to survive on such a hostile planet, Admiral Kate Morgan spoke for something called the United Earth Defense Command. The very name suggested a planet-wide military organization, which made no sense for a species that should have been focused entirely on basic survival. Dr. Velanosh studied the communication patterns with growing confusion. Captain, this is unprecedented, the scientist reported. The signals are coming from multiple continents on the planet's surface. They have achieved global communication networks and appear to have unified command structures spanning their entire world. Lieutenant Kekstar looked up from his tactical station with concern. Sir, I am detecting more activity in their orbital space. Several objects are moving in our direction, but they are maintaining respectful distances. Moving objects? Zexthara asked. Spacecraft, sir. Small ones, but they appear to be manned vessels conducting some kind of patrol or reconnaissance. The captain felt his secondary heart start beating faster. A species with active spaceflight operations and military protocols was far beyond what they had expected to find. The Federation's first contact procedures assumed they would be dealing with primitive civilizations struggling with basic technology. Communication Officer Thekmor received another transmission from the planet. This time, the message came from someone identifying himself as Lieutenant Commander Ben Carter, speaking on behalf of Earth's diplomatic corps. The humans suggested a meeting at coordinates in their system's asteroid belt where they maintained what he called a research station. They have permanent installations in their asteroid belt? Dr. Velenosh asked in amazement. It appears so, sir. The energy signatures match the description of a large space station with both research and defensive capabilities. Captain Zexthara studied the tactical display showing the positions of various human spacecraft around their planet. The distribution patterns showed strategic thinking and coordinated defense planning. These were not the desperate survivors he had expected to find, but a thriving, spacefaring civilization that had somehow mastered their deadly environment. Sir, Thekmor reported, I am receiving detailed specifications for the proposed meeting. The humans are providing navigation, data, docking procedures, and what appears to be environmental compatibility information. They seem to know we will need different atmospheric conditions. The level of preparation was disturbing. The humans were treating this first contact as a routine diplomatic meeting rather than the historic moment it should have been. Their casual competence suggested they had been planning for contact with alien species for some time. Accept their proposal, Zexthara ordered, but maintain full tactical readiness. If these beings have militarized their entire planet and achieved rapid technological development, they may be more dangerous than we realize. The journey to the human space station took 2 standard days. During that time, Dr. Velenosh analyzed every piece of data they could gather about Earth and its inhabitants. The results painted an increasingly alarming picture of the planet and its dominant species. Earth was not just a death world, but the most extreme death world anyone had ever catalogued. The planet experienced regular mass extinction events that wiped out most life forms every few million years. Massive climate swings created ice ages followed by periods of deadly heat. The surface was constantly bombarded with cosmic radiation due to the planet's weak magnetic field. Volcanic activity and seismic events regularly devastated large areas, yet somehow, life had not just survived but had flourished. The biological diversity readings were off the charts. Millions of different species had adapted to every possible environmental niche on the planet. The dominant species, humans, appeared to have spread across every continent and adapted to conditions ranging from frozen polar regions to scorching deserts. Captain, Dr. Velenosh said as he studied the latest data, I am beginning to understand how these humans achieved such rapid development. Their planet has forced them to become the ultimate survivors. Every generation has faced extinction-level challenges, and only the strongest and smartest have survived to reproduce. You think their environment created them? Zexthara asked. More than that, sir. I think it created something unprecedented. Look at these biological scans. The doctor showed readings from the human spacecraft they had detected. The life signs were unlike anything in Federation databases. The humans showed bone density measurements that exceeded most known species, including the cromnary. Their cardiovascular systems appeared designed for extreme performance under stress. Most disturbing, their neural activity patterns suggested cognitive processing speeds that should not have been possible in organic tissue. These readings cannot be accurate, Lieutenant Kekstar said. No organic species could have such physical capabilities and maintain stable brain function. That is what I thought too, Velenosh replied. But I have checked and rechecked the data. These humans appear to be biological impossibilities that somehow function perfectly. The space station called Haven Point appeared on their sensors as they approached the meeting coordinates. Captain Zexthara had expected to see a crude structure barely holding together in the harsh environment of space. Instead, he found himself looking at a sophisticated facility that rivaled anything built by the Federation's most advanced species. The station was clearly designed for both research and defense, with multiple docking bays, sensor arrays, and what appeared to be weapon systems integrated into its structure. Most impressive was its size. The facility could house thousands of beings and support extensive operations far from their home planet. "Sir," Thekmore reported, "the humans are hailing us with very precise docking instructions. They appear to have prepared a section of their station specifically for our atmospheric requirements. How could they know our atmospheric needs?" Dr. Velinosh wondered. "They must have analyzed our ship's emissions and extrapolated our biological requirements," the communication officer replied. "That level of scientific analysis from sensor data alone is remarkably advanced." As the Iron Tide docked with Haven Point, Captain Zexthara felt a growing sense of unease. Everything about this first contact was proceeding too smoothly. The humans seemed to be in complete control of the situation, managing details that most species would never have considered. The docking process itself was flawless. Human technicians had prepared a sealed corridor with atmospheric conditions, precisely matched to Kromnuri requirements. Environmental sensors confirmed that temperature, pressure, and gas mixture were all within acceptable ranges. Commander Lisa Hayes welcomed the Kromnuri delegation over the communication system. Her voice was calm and professional, showing no signs of the awe or fear that usually accompanied first contact with alien species. She spoke as if receiving visitors from other star systems was a routine part of her duties. "Welcome to Haven Point," she said. "We have prepared meeting facilities and arranged for cultural exchange protocols. Our xenobiology team is standing by to ensure your comfort during your stay." Dr. Velinosh looked at Captain Zexthara with surprise. "They have a xenobiology team? How can they have specialists in alien biology when they have never met alien species before?" "Unless," the captain said quietly, "they have met alien species before and simply never announced it to the galaxy." The implications of that possibility sent chills through the entire Kromnuri crew. If the humans had been aware of galactic civilization for some time without revealing themselves, it suggested a level of strategic thinking and patience that was deeply unsettling. As they prepared to meet these mysterious Deathworlders face to face, Captain Zexthara could not shake the feeling that his crew was walking into a situation they did not understand and could not control. For the first time in his military career, the galaxy's toughest warrior felt completely out of his depth. The airlock opened with a soft hiss, and Captain Zexthara got his first look at actual humans. Commander Lisa Hayes stood waiting with a small delegation, and the Kromnuri captain felt immediately confused by what he saw. The humans appeared almost fragile compared to his own people. They stood on only 2 legs instead of the more stable 4 that most intelligent species used. Their skin looked soft and unprotected, without the natural armor that any sensible evolution should have provided. They were much smaller than Kromnuri, and their thin limbs suggested weakness rather than strength, yet something about their posture and the way they moved spoke of confidence and competence that did not match their physical appearance. "Commander." Hayes stepped forward with easy grace, showing no sign of intimidation despite facing beings twice her size who could easily crush her with their bare hands. "Captain Zexthara," she said in perfectly pronounced Kromnuri, "welcome aboard Haven Point. I am Commander Lisa Hayes, and this is Dr. Alex Porter, our xenobiology specialist, and Colonel Jake Sullivan, our military observer." Dr. Velinosh activated his biological scanners while trying to appear casual about it. The readings that came back made him check his instruments twice to make sure they were working properly. Despite their fragile appearance, the humans showed internal structures that defied everything he knew about biology. Their bone density was extraordinary, far exceeding that of species evolved in much higher gravity environments. Their muscle fiber composition suggested strength capabilities that their size should not have been able to support. Most disturbing of all, their cardiovascular systems appeared designed for performance levels that would kill most Federation species from the strain alone. "Dr. Porter," Captain Zexthara said carefully, Commander Hayes mentioned you are a xenobiology specialist. How does one become an expert in alien biology without having met aliens before? The human scientist smiled in what appeared to be a friendly expression. We have been preparing for this possibility for quite some time, Captain. Our studies of galactic radio emissions and stellar engineering signatures told us we were not alone in the universe. We thought it was only a matter of time before someone found us. You have been monitoring galactic communications? Lieutenant Keckstar asked with alarm. For several decades now, Colonel Sullivan replied casually. Your ships put out quite a lot of electromagnetic radiation. We have been tracking Federation vessel movements throughout this sector of space. The casual admission that humans had been spying on Federation activities for decades sent shock waves through the Cromnary delegation. Dr. Velenosh tried to hide his growing panic as he realized the implications. If humans had been monitoring their communications and tracking their ships, they knew far more about galactic civilization than they were admitting. Commander Hayes led them to a meeting room that had been prepared with remarkable attention to detail. The furniture was sized appropriately for Cromnary physiology, the lighting was adjusted to their visual preferences, and the atmospheric mixture was perfect for their respiratory needs. The level of preparation suggested the humans had been planning for this meeting much longer than they claimed. Please make yourselves comfortable, Dr. Porter said. We have prepared some refreshments that should be compatible with your dietary requirements. The humans served what they called water, a simple compound that was safe for most carbon-based life forms. But when Commander Hayes poured herself a cup of dark liquid that she called coffee, Dr. Velenosh's scanners went wild. The substance, registered as containing chemicals that would be classified as dangerous stimulants by Federation standards. What are you drinking? The Cromnary scientist asked with concern. Coffee, Hayes replied, taking a large sip. It is a mild stimulant we use to help stay alert. Would you like to try some? Dr. Velenosh stared at the readings on his scanner. The chemical compounds in the human beverage were similar to combat drugs used by Cromnary shock troops before battle. The concentration levels would have sent most Federation species into dangerous hyperactivity, yet this human woman was drinking it casually as if it were harmless. Perhaps we should begin with basic cultural exchange, Captain Zextara suggested, trying to regain some control of the situation. Of course, Dr. Porter agreed. What would you like to know about Earth and humanity? The questions that followed revealed information that grew more disturbing with each answer. Commander Hayes mentioned growing up in a place called Colorado, where the atmospheric pressure was so low that most Federation species would suffocate within minutes. Dr. Porter talked about conducting research in Antarctica, describing environmental conditions that would freeze Cromnary solid despite their natural resistance to cold. Colonel Sullivan shared stories about military deployments in places with names like Afghanistan and Iraq, casually describing combat operations in desert environments that exceeded the safe operational limits of Cromnary battle armor. The humans spoke about these extreme conditions as if they were merely inconvenient rather than life-threatening. Your planet has many different climate zones? Dr. Velenosh asked, though his scanners had already confirmed this fact. Oh yes, Hayes replied. Humans live everywhere from the Arctic ice sheets to tropical rainforests to high mountain ranges. We have permanent research stations at both poles and settlements in some of the most remote deserts on the planet. How do you survive in such varied environments? Lieutenant Keckstar wondered. Adaptation and technology, Dr. Porter explained. Humans are remarkably adaptable. We can acclimatize to different altitudes, temperatures, and atmospheric conditions. Within a few weeks, our technology fills in the gaps where our biology falls short. The casual way the humans discussed adapting to environments that would kill most galactic species was deeply unsettling. Captain Zextara began to understand that he was not dealing with a species that had barely survived their harsh planet. These were beings who had not just mastered their environment, but had used it to forge themselves into something unprecedented. Tell us about your military capabilities, Colonel Sullivan said, changing the subject with practiced diplomacy. The Federation must have impressive forces to maintain peace across so many star systems. The question caught Captain Zexthara off guard. He had expected to be asking such questions, not answering them. But something about the Colonel's direct manner made evasion seem pointless. The Cromneri serve as the Federation's primary military force, he explained. Our physical capabilities and resistance to hostile environments make us ideal for dangerous missions. Physical capabilities? Dr. Porter asked with genuine interest. What kind of environmental extremes can your people handle? Dr. Velenosh found himself describing the harsh conditions of Cromner Prime, the crushing gravity and toxic storms that had forged his people into the galaxy's ultimate warriors. But as he spoke, he noticed the humans exchanging glances that seemed almost amused. That sounds challenging, Commander Hayes said politely. Earth has some similar conditions in certain regions. We have people who live and work in environments with comparable atmospheric toxicity and extreme weather patterns. You have people who choose to live in such conditions? Captain Zexthara asked in disbelief. Some of our most productive industrial centers are located in areas with natural hazards, Colonel Sullivan explained. Humans tend to go wherever there are resources to be exploited or challenges to be overcome. The meeting continued for several more hours, but each exchange only deepened the Cromneri delegation's growing horror. The humans casually mentioned their planet's history of mass extinction events, climate changes that would have wiped out any sane species, and natural disasters that occurred with frightening regularity. They spoke of volcanic eruptions, massive earthquakes, hurricanes with wind speeds that would tear apart most structures, and ice ages that covered huge portions of their planet's surface. Yet somehow, humans had not just survived these catastrophes, but had thrived during them. Your species has experienced multiple extinction events? Dr. Velenosh asked, his voice barely steady. Several major ones, Dr. Porter confirmed, plus countless smaller disasters. Asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, climate shifts. Each time, life on Earth rebuilds itself stronger than before. And humans survived all of these events? Our ancestors did. Each generation that survived was tougher and smarter than the last. Natural selection in action. Captain Zexthara stared at the humans with a mixture of awe and terror. These beings were not just survivors of a harsh world. They were the end product of millions of years of the most extreme evolutionary pressure imaginable. Every catastrophe that should have destroyed them had instead made them stronger. The galaxy's hardiest species had finally met real Deathworlders, and Captain Zexthara was beginning to understand that everything the Federation thought it knew about survival and strength was about to change forever. Dr. Velenosh worked through the night analyzing the biological data he had collected from the humans. Each new discovery made the situation more alarming than the last. The complete medical scans that Dr. Porter had volunteered for the sake of scientific exchange revealed biological capabilities that should not have existed in any known organic life form. Human bones were not just dense, but had a complex internal structure that provided both flexibility and incredible strength. Their muscles showed fiber arrangements that allowed for both endurance and explosive power far beyond what their size suggested. Most disturbing of all, their healing capabilities bordered on the supernatural. Minor injuries closed within hours, and even major trauma could be recovered from in time frames that would be impossible for any Federation species. Captain, Dr. Velenosh reported as Zexthara reviewed the data, I have discovered something. That explains their rapid recovery abilities. Humans have redundant organ systems. They can survive with major damage to heart, lungs, liver, kidneys, and even brain tissue that would kill any other species instantly. Redundant systems? 2 kidneys when one would suffice, backup cardiovascular pathways, distributed neural networks that can compensate for brain damage, liver tissue that can regenerate itself. Captain, these beings are designed to keep fighting even when they should be dead. The implications were staggering. The Federation had always believed that the Cromneri represented the peak of biological evolution for survival and combat. Yet, Here was a species that had evolved capabilities that made even the toughest Cromnary warriors look fragile by comparison. Lieutenant Kekstar brought more troubling intelligence from his analysis of human technology and military capabilities. Sir, I have been studying the specifications of their space station and spacecraft. Their engineering approaches are completely different from anything in Federation space. Different how? Captain Zexthara asked. Everything is overbuilt by factors of 10 or more. Their safety margins exceed our military specifications. It is as if they expect their equipment to operate under conditions that would destroy normal technology. Because they do, Dr. Velinosh said grimly. Their planet regularly subjects them to conditions that would be classified as weapon-grade environmental warfare. They build everything to survive the worst their world can throw at them. The morning brought a request from the humans for a demonstration of their spaceflight capabilities. Colonel Sullivan suggested that Captain Zexthara might be interested in observing human pilot training exercises. The Cromnary captain agreed, thinking it would provide useful intelligence about their hosts. Military abilities. What he witnessed instead was something that challenged everything he thought he knew about the limits of organic life. A human spacecraft called the Phoenix approached Haven Point at acceleration rates that should have turned any organic pilot into liquid paste. The G-forces involved exceeded the maximum safe limits for Cromnary in full protective gear, yet when the ship docked and the pilot emerged, Major Rickstone appeared completely unaffected by the brutal flight profile. He walked out of his craft with steady steps and a casual smile, showing no signs of the massive physiological stress he had just endured. How is that possible? Dr. Velinosh whispered to his captain. Major Stone, Commander Hayes said as she introduced the pilot. Just completed a routine patrol mission covering 3 asteroid mining operations and a deep space sensor platform. Routine? Lieutenant Kekstar asked in amazement. Standard 8-hour shift, Major Stone replied cheerfully, though we had to dodge some debris fields around the outer stations. Made for interesting flying. Dr. Velinosh checked his instruments again. The pilot's vital signs were completely normal despite having just survived acceleration forces that would have killed most Federation species. His stress hormone levels were actually lower than those of the Cromnary delegation who had been sitting safely aboard the space station. Major, Captain Zexthara asked carefully, what kind of training do human pilots receive to handle such extreme conditions? Basic flight school is about 2 years, Stone replied. But most of us have been flying since we were teenagers. I started with atmospheric aircraft when I was 16. 16 years old? Dr. Velinosh asked. Your species allows children to operate high-speed vehicles? Sure, driving cars, flying planes, operating boats, it is pretty normal. Kids need to learn to handle dangerous situations early if they are going to survive to adulthood on Earth. The casual statement that human children were routinely exposed to life-threatening situations as part of normal development sent chills through the Cromnary delegation. What kind of species considered deadly danger to be necessary childhood? Education? Dr. Porter arrived with what he called recreational footage from Earth. He seemed excited to share examples of human culture and entertainment with their alien guests. What followed was perhaps the most terrifying hour in Captain Zexthara's military career. The humans showed videos of activities they called extreme sports. People deliberately throwing themselves off mountains with only fabric wings to slow their fall. Others diving into deep ocean trenches without breathing equipment, holding their breath for impossible lengths of time. Some climbed vertical rock faces using only their hands and feet, hanging hundreds of meters above certain death. This is entertainment? Dr. Velinosh asked in horror. Recreation mostly, Dr. Porter explained, though some people make careers out of extreme sports. There are professional leagues for most of these activities. Professional leagues for deliberate life-threatening behavior? Well, when you put it that way, it sounds worse than it is, Commander Hayes laughed. Most extreme. Sports have very good safety records. Modern equipment and training techniques make them much safer than they used to be. Captain Zexthara watched humans skiing down mountain slopes at speeds that would be fatal in any collision, surfing waves tall enough to crush buildings, and racing vehicles around tracks where the slightest error would result in fiery death. The commentators on the video spoke about these activities with excitement and joy, as if watching people risk their lives was the height of entertainment. "How many humans participate in such activities?" Lieutenant Kekstar asked weakly. "Oh, millions," Colonel Sullivan replied. "Most people try at least a few extreme sports during their lifetime. It is considered healthy to challenge yourself physically and mentally." "Healthy?" "Sure. Controlled risk-taking builds confidence and improves reaction times. Plus, the adrenaline rush is addictive in the best possible way." Dr. Velanosh's medical scanners were detecting massive spikes in stress hormones throughout the Cromnary delegation, while the humans remained completely calm. These beings found relaxation in activities that would give most Federation species permanent psychological trauma just from watching. The final shock came when Dr. Porter casually mentioned that humans had been monitoring Federation space traffic for decades. Their supposedly primitive technology had not only detected Cromnary ships, but had been tracking and analyzing Federation vessel movements throughout the entire sector. "You have been watching us?" Captain Zexthara asked. "Observing from a distance," Dr. Porter confirmed. "We learned about galactic civilization by studying your communication patterns and ship movements. We have been preparing for eventual contact for over 30 years. 30 years? We figured someone would find us eventually. Earth puts out a lot of electromagnetic radiation, and our industrial activities are pretty obvious to anyone with decent sensors. We wanted to be ready when first contact happened." Commander Hayes smiled at the stunned expressions on the Cromnary faces. "We have learned quite a lot about Federation technology and military capabilities during our observation period. Very impressive engineering, though some of your safety protocols seem a bit excessive by our standards." Captain Zexthara realized, with growing horror, that the Federation's most advanced military force had been completely outmaneuvered by beings they had never known existed. The humans had been studying them while remaining invisible, learning their capabilities and weaknesses while revealing nothing about themselves. The galaxy's hardiest species had encountered something they had never imagined possible, a civilization that was not just tougher than them, but smarter and more dangerous than anything they had ever faced. And these terrifying Deathworlders were treating the whole situation as if it were a pleasant, social gathering between friends. Captain Zexthara returned to Federation space with a report that no one wanted to believe. The idea that a species could be more physically capable than the Cromnary seemed impossible to most galactic leaders. The Federation Council dismissed his initial findings as exaggerated observations influenced by the stress of first contact with an unknown species. That changed when Admiral Kate Morgan arrived at Federation headquarters with a full diplomatic delegation. The humans came in, ships that moved faster than anything in the Federation fleet while using technology that appeared to violate several known laws of physics. More disturbing was the casual confidence with which they handled environmental conditions that would kill most galactic citizens. Dr. Velanosh presented his complete biological analysis to the Federation Science Council, and the reaction was immediate panic. Every measurement confirmed the terrifying reality that humans represented a new category of life form entirely. Their genetic structure showed adaptations for surviving in environments that exceeded the operational limits of Federation military equipment. These beings possess immune systems that can adapt to completely alien pathogens within hours, Dr. Velanosh explained to the stunned scientists. Their psychological profiles show remarkable resistance to stress, trauma, and isolation that would drive most species to insanity. They are essentially living weapons forged by the most hostile planet anyone has ever discovered. Federation military analysts studied the human diplomatic vessel and found technology that challenged everything they understood about engineering and physics. The ship's hull was designed to withstand impacts that would vaporize normal spacecraft. Its propulsion system operated at efficiency levels that should have been impossible with known materials. Most alarming was the discovery that the human vessel carried defensive systems that could have easily destroyed the entire Federation First Fleet, yet Admiral Morgan and her crew treated these devastating weapons as routine safety equipment, no more remarkable than emergency life support systems. They call them point defense arrays, reported Federation Naval Intelligence, designed to handle what they term minor debris and small hostile contacts. Admiral Morgan seemed surprised that we were impressed by them. She mentioned that their military vessels carry much more substantial defensive systems. The panic spread when other Federation species realized what the human presence meant for galactic politics. If humans decided to expand beyond their system, no known military force could stop them. Their natural capabilities, combined with technology developed under the most extreme conditions imaginable, made them essentially unstoppable. However, the crisis took an unexpected turn when human negotiators led by Patricia Wells and Stephen Clark began establishing formal trade agreements. Instead of conquest, the humans offered cooperation. Their industrial capabilities, forged by the demands of surviving on Earth, produced manufactured goods with quality standards that exceeded anything available in Federation space. They are offering us technology, Admiral Vexgron of the Federation Defense Force reported with amazement. Medical equipment that can heal injuries we consider fatal, materials that can withstand conditions that would destroy our best military armor, and computational systems that operate at speeds we thought were impossible. Nancy Davis, the human diplomatic coordinator, explained their position with the same calm competence that had characterized all human behavior. Earth's harsh conditions had taught humanity that survival depended on cooperation and mutual aid. Rather than conquerors, they saw themselves as potential protectors of less hardy species. Your Federation has achieved something remarkable, she told the Galactic Council. Peaceful cooperation between hundreds of different species across thousands of star systems. That is exactly the kind of challenge humans find irresistible. We want to help make it work better. Peter Johnson, serving as cultural liaison, shared more details about human psychology that helped explain their offer of alliance rather than domination. Earth's constant catastrophes had shaped human society around the concept of mutual survival. They genuinely could not understand why they would want to harm other intelligent species. Every major disaster in human history was survived through cooperation, he explained. Climate changes, asteroid impacts, volcanic eruptions, plagues, the groups that worked together lived. The ones that fought each other died. After millions of years of that kind of natural selection, humans are basically programmed to form protective alliances. The Federation Council faced an unprecedented decision. Accept alliance with beings who could probably conquer the entire galaxy, or risk making enemies of the most dangerous species anyone had ever encountered. The choice was surprisingly easy once they understood human motivations. Captain Zexthara found himself appointed as the primary Federation liaison to the human government. His initial terror of these Deathworlders had evolved into something approaching awe. The same species that could survive conditions that would kill Cromnary shock troops used that incredible toughness to protect others rather than dominate them. The first test of the Human Federation alliance came when a hostile force from outside Federation space attacked several border colonies. The Federation Defense Force prepared for a costly military campaign against the invaders. But the humans offered a different solution. Commander Ryan Bell led a human peacekeeping task force to the attacked colonies. What followed was the shortest military campaign in galactic history. The hostile invaders, who had easily overwhelmed Federation defenders, took one look at the approaching human vessels and immediately requested emergency diplomatic negotiations. "What did you do to them?" Captain Zexthara asked Commander Bell, after the invaders surrendered without firing a shot. "Nothing special," the human officer replied. "We just showed up and explained that these colonies were under human protection now. The invaders scanned our ships, analyzed our capabilities, and decided they had urgent business elsewhere in the galaxy." The pattern repeated itself across Federation space. hostile forces that had terrorized galactic civilization for centuries suddenly became remarkably peaceful when they learned that humans were now involved in galactic affairs. The mere possibility of facing human military forces was enough to discourage even the most aggressive species. Captain Amy Foster commanded the human garrison protecting the Federation capital world. Her presence and that of her troops provided a sense of security that the galaxy had never experienced before. Beings who had lived in fear of raiders and hostile forces could finally sleep peacefully, knowing that Earth's ultimate survivors were watching over them. Dr. Velenosh established a research partnership with human scientists and made discoveries that revolutionized Federation medicine and technology. Human insights into survival under extreme conditions led to breakthroughs that saved millions of lives across hundreds of worlds. They do not just survive, he reported to the Federation Science Council. They thrive under conditions that would kill us, and then they use what they learn to help others survive those same conditions. It is as if they were designed by the universe to be protectors of other life forms. Years later, Captain Zexthara reflected on the irony of the situation as he watched human peacekeepers training Federation security forces, the galaxy's former apex predators, now slept safely under the protection of species they had once considered impossibly fragile. The Cromnuri had learned that the most dangerous beings in the universe were not always the ones who looked the toughest. Sometimes they were the ones who had learned to survive by helping each other, and who used their incredible strength to make sure others could survive too. The galaxy was a safer place because its hardiest species had finally met real Deathworlders, and those Deathworlders had turned out to be exactly the kind of friends the universe needed most.